All right, so I'm here today with Dr. Thomas Chiu. He is a leading AI and education researcher. He's from Hong Kong, and we have the privilege of interviewing him here today for SAIL. We're going to talk about his area of expertise, get to know him a little bit, and just dive into this topic of AI in education with one of the leading researchers. So without further ado, Dr. Chiu, could you maybe share a little bit about your background and what got you into this field of AI and STEM? Like, what inspired you to get into this?
Thank you. I'm from Chinese University of Hong Kong. So actually, before I work in university, I was a school teacher. I taught mathematics, STEM education, and also I'm big, one of the teacher that love to integrate technology in education, teaching, learning, and then of course when I moved to university. And then I do what I love to do, which is STEM education and also digital education. And at that time, AI wasn't big. And then like last 2 or 3 years, AI become huge in education. And actually, we are kind of aware of it. And then we want our students, in Hong Kong that understand what AI is. So we actually, I start to do research on AI education, meaning that teaching AI in 2018, which is 7 years ago, before ChatGPT get in the market, in the public. And now, of course, because of ChatGPT come along, it's huge because we have a lot of discussion. The number of downloads of GPT is increasing a lot. So I now move from ChatGPT, using ChatGPT, generative AI in education and technology. So that's why I think this is something that I think impact school education, higher education, student, parents, teachers a lot. That's why I want to explore more that, to understand how you integrate this interesting technology that in education. Yes, that's how I get into the research.
Yeah, no, that seems like a very interesting motivation, and it's definitely a very valuable field, I think, with how increasingly prevalent generative AI is becoming, how much people are using it. And so I guess the next thing I wanted to ask is, how have you maybe seen generative AI integrated into education so far? And do you think they have been effective uses? Do you think it's been not effective? Like, what have you seen so far in the actual schools?
So actually, I think generative AI is pretty new in school education or any education. You can see that I'm apart from generative AI, let's talk about digital technology in teaching and learning. Actually, wasn't popular, even though we have talk about IT in education or digital education. I've been talking about for last 20 years, but still in education we see it as a tools. Wasn't popular. Are they effective? It's always a big questions. And then we have AI. AI is not new. We have it for 50 years. And then they are using it in adaptive learning system, ITS, intelligent tutorial system. They are there already. But why generative AI become a big hit? Because first, a lot of people can access it. So it's not like something alien. As long as you have a browser, you can type, then you can get it. For example, Google, you can have it. So it's a big impact. So in the very beginning, in education, our discussion is, should we use it? For 6 months, and a lot of conservative people, they said no. Some adventure people, like they like something new, they will do it. They move from yes, no. So we do it, so we use it, to how to do that. So I think it's very early to say about if it is effective or not. But the problem is, not problem, I would say that generative AI is everywhere. As long as you have iPhone, mobile phone, smartphone, you have generative AI already. Many generative AI is embedded in the hardware already. So it's not like if you're using or not. Now we are moving from yes, no question, the acceptance or not, to how to use it. Effective or loss, I think that's why we do research. Research is understanding what's happening and how to do that. I would say that so that's why we have a lot of research. We're trying to do that. I think it's in the process. I cannot say it's effective, but definitely generative AI won't go away. They will be with us. So we just try to do how to do that. And that is there one issue we talk about. We are each of us were different, so we cannot say that one way of doing it. So I think effective or loss also depend on the person, and then why are you using it in education? Teachers, students are different. So I think like this, it's not like effective or not. I think at the moment, I think it's more about the how to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very interesting, actually. And I guess related to that, so before the interview, I was reading some of your papers.
Yeah.
And one of the very interesting ones that I came across was this paper about kind of the questions and the gray areas that we need to answer in the future if we are going to integrate AI. And so you brought up, for example, right now that everyone is different. So I remember one of those questions was personalization versus standardization. Like generative AI has that promise where it will be personalized for education, but then you maybe miss out on the benefits of a standardized curriculum. So there are a bunch of other questions too. And maybe what do you think are the most important questions going into the future that educators need to think about in terms of AI?
Okay, I think first, many people, when they talk about generative AI, I think they usually discuss, use ChatGPT as a center. So all the discussions seem that we are talking about LLM, large language model, because ChatGPT is just the brand, large language model. And I think that I always say that, is this for education? First, this is not. Like the story, like soon, when we have COVID, a lot of school turning to online education. So they use it soon for teaching and learning, but it is not education. They are for conferences, online conferences. So a lot for education. ChatGPT is not for education, even though it's a personalized response. I gotta say that they give you a personalized response. They give you a personalized information, but there are many of them. A lot of discussion before is like they're not reliable. So one of the things that we should have some application with, large language model decided for educational purposes. I think I can see that the recent development that we have a lot like this. So like, for example, there are some LLM for mathematics learning only. There are some LLM for coding only. There are some LLM for linguistic only. So one of the biggest, I would say, that in generative AI, we should have more. I use the term called EDU GPT at GPT. So they are more like kind of large language model for them. And also, I think you're putting up like standard assessment or personalized. But you have to understand, when we come to learning, like university, higher education, or school education, we have a curriculum. Curriculum is a standard, what you have to learn. You have to understand that not everyone we are different. So we have a standard here, but not everyone will move there. So we have a different level. But personalized learning is help you to learn better. So in the old day, I think traditional classroom, you have a standard, but your teaching is more like not personalized. It's a bit difficult to personalize. Teachers try to. And then now we have generative AI to kick in, they make it personalized. So I will see that many people move up, more people will go to the standard with generative AI in the future. So another question that I would say that, how can we do that? How can we use ChatGPT or generative AI to help each of us to learn more effectively? I think it's another question that I would like to bring up in the future when you do research. Yes. Yeah.
I think that's very interesting, actually. And I guess related to that, what I was wondering is, you brought up that GPT is not for education, like these regular LLMs are not for education. So maybe what's the difference between a tool that's for education and a tool that's not for education? Like, how do you distinguish?
Like, for example, LLM, I mean, ChatGPT, I got generic LLM. because I don't want to use ChatGPT. It is more owned by a company. I will generic LLM, the data that they use for training is like generic. So they just get any data that they want. But education, LLM for education, for example, they are LLM for mathematics learning. I would say the data should be driven by mathematics educator, or the data that student, related to student when they learn mathematics. So all this data must be related to mathematics. Another example that when you develop some LLM for non-native English speaker language learning, the data should be also come from non-native English speaker. If you use native English speaker data, actually is biased because how they learn are different. So I think that how you develop is always very important. The data you use to be more specific, more educational context, and also the development is also very different because ILL, generic LLM, I'm not sure that how they do it, but for education one, the developer should work with educator to do that, because you cannot say that, oh, I only use engineering perspective to do that. You should have combined both of them, because we go for quality, not just develop some tools. We want to have a educational tools, not a tool. I always use one term is tools for education or educational tools. So generic LLM is more tools for education, but educational tools is LLM for education purpose only. Yeah, I think first I would say that should be use educational data. The second one is I think they should work with educator to develop those tools or LLM. Yeah, then I would see that it is at GPT. Or yes.
Got it. So we need to have educational tools and not tools for education.
Yes.
That's what we need. I like that. That's a good way to remember it. And so do you think that, for example, the level at which you would develop this tool, like, do you need specific data to develop it? Can you do the fine-tuning afterwards? Kind of what level do they have to be developed at to become educational tools?
So at first, no, I would say that I use a software development cycle. So even though I'm talking about data, I must be from education. No software, we could develop this development cycle. That means that it's like angle. If you have a tools there, you put it there, you don't develop the further development. Actually, it's not responsible. So the question that you asked, I will say that this development is endless. so they should keep doing it. But you also have to understand that education is also contextual. I would say that the way how people that in Canada learn is different to people that in US learn. So we are very different. So there is like, how can we do that? I would say there is a development cycle. As long as I would say that at the end, the world is changing. Education is also changing. So I think I would rather to talk about it as a development cycle. But another issue that we'll talk about is sustainability. So sustainability of educational technology is very important. I will sustain it. So I think they are together. So I think that is we lead development. So I don't think that this answer that our timeline, like 5 years, how to do that. I don't think so. I think because we are changing, people are changing. For example, AI kick in, and then now we talk about AI competency, AI literacy is a new knowledge that we have to learn. You don't know what's happening in 5 years, so you may change a lot again, something like this. So I will focus on the development and sustainability issue. Yeah.
So it's an ongoing thing. They have to keep working with the educators, keep getting the right data, and then that's how you get these tools. Got it. Now there's another interesting point you mentioned, and I maybe want to ask you about this. You said, students in Canada learn different from students in the US. And so as someone from Hong Kong, do you think there's maybe a difference in how AI is being integrated in Hong Kong versus how it's being integrated in North America? Are the approaches similar? Kind of what have you noticed in your experience?
Oh, very different. First, our curriculum are different. The school system are are different because where I am, Hong Kong is a very small city, very, very small, but with a lot of people. And then our infrastructure, network infrastructure is very good. So we don't have rural area, first of all. So everyone can access digital technology, AI easily. So we actually, and also in Hong Kong, the school have a fixed, curriculum for AI. So everyone learn AI already. Learn about what AI is. They have a foundation. But in US or in Canada, I think what I know that they don't have this curriculum. So our kid in Hong Kong in 2022, everyone is learning it. So they actually have a basic knowledge of AI. And then now we move forward to AI in education. We are very big time to accept this kind of technology. So if you ask me, they're actually there already. But what I know that in US, they just sign up the AI educate. They just start to make it like official. I think just 4 days ago, AI education, because they just signed. Donald Trump just signed executive order to talk about this. So actually, they just started now. So that's why if you talk about how we learn about I think we are more embrace this kind of technology in education and how we learn. I think we are people. Now we learn. I think there are some. I think we are very similar. But again, in education, we are talking about discipline, maybe based. So, for example, how we learn mathematics is different from here because we have different curriculum. But in general, how we learn, I think, very different. I would say, let me say, how we collaborate with AI, I think we are very similar. But how we learn with AI in a specific discipline may be different. Yeah.
Now I'm actually curious. So you mentioned you have an AI integrated curriculum in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
What does that cover? What do students learn?
Let me. First, it's a subject. Let me make it simple. First, knowledge of AI. You have to understand, like for example, mechanism. Machine learning, big data, cloud computing. What they are. So they actually have to create. Our student will create some kind of machine learning, and then process of learn AI. That means you have to understand how AI works. For example, how like computer vision, computer speech, and how AI do the reasoning. It is we got process. Now how AI process data. Another one is called impact of AI. So we talk about the future of work. A lot of work that will be maybe gone, but there are some new job kick in, and also ethical issue, human bias. So they have to learn this kind of knowledge. And I think this is the three main thing that we talk about. I think the curriculum should cover this issue. And also in Hong Kong, we are also talk about AI for social good. Because AI can do a lot of harm, fake news. But we actually want to more focus on AI for social good. So when they are learning about AI, they should have a mindset that you have to develop something, should be do something good to the society, not harmful. I think it's just the idea like that. Yeah.
Got it. So not only are they learning about how to use these tools and how they work, but they're getting into the ethical implications and AI for social good. So that's interesting. Yeah, that's a very cool way to think
I
about it.
also can add one thing. Actually, in our curriculum, actually don't really talk about coding. So a lot of people talk about AI, mean that coding. So we use Python to do that, and actually we are not. You can just talk about how AI works. For example, what kind of data you collect would be could be have less bias application. And then I think we have a lot of discussion, debate about when you come to human bias. So you talk about it. So I think that we don't. What you talk about AI, using AI in teaching and learning is another area that we call AI competency. Teaching AI is more about AI literacy. Competency, what that means that is about can you use AI to learn a specific subject effectively, healthily, ethically. So this is another skill set that we learn. For example, that let me make it this way for linguistics. You learn about languages. but doesn't mean that you can, you write a, do a business writing. It's a two different thing. You are good at languages, doesn't mean that you can have a good, can do business writing or legal writing or academic writing. That one is more about application. But you have to have a foundation. We call, that language is more about learning AI. So what is about using AI is more about, another level. Yeah.
So there's a distinction between AI literacy and AI
AI
competency.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you start with AI literacy, and you build to AI competency. Is that
Yes.
okay?
It's what we do actually at the moment in Hong Kong. I think it's also UNESCO also doing similar thing. AI literacy and AI competency are, they're related, but they're also different. But they're kind of like this. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's very interesting actually. I want to maybe circle back to one thing you mentioned, which is, I guess, access to these technologies. So you mentioned that in Hong Kong, there's not really a rural area, it's kind of a city, and people have access to the infrastructure, whereas here, there are divides in access.
Mm.
And I think one interesting thing is that there's like the lack of access is not just linked to your geographical location, but I think there's also a financial barrier because the companies that are designing this AI, most of them are for profit. They want to make money. And if the best models are the ones that you have to pay the most for, do you think that has been causing a divide where only the people who can afford the best tools have access to the best tools? Or do you think there's a way to maybe overcome this and have a level playing field?
First, this question, of course, many people will say yes, because of course, there are some ChatGPT versions that are more, higher, better performance than the others, free version. But for me, when they come to education, I see these kind of tools, generative AI, is alternative intelligence, rather than I accept it. So my key point, we cannot change this one. They have to make profit. So we just stop it, stay put, don't do anything. My approach to this question is more proactive, more active. I said, so we actually teach our kid, our student to learn better with generative AI, so they don't just accept it. They see that generative AI is going to give you a different perspective, and then they take it and then learn with it, and then make it their home. Still keep their original ideas. So I think that for me is more about how they use it. For example, if someone that using a very pay for some ChatGPT using a very high performance generative AI, but they just accept it. What does it mean in terms of you cannot really learn anything at the end? It's not a good way of doing it. They actually harm their own learning. In long term, they don't do anything. I think in long term that is not a really good thing. So I think to answer this question, I say, if the student that have the capacity to learn with generative AI appropriately, I would say that this divide maybe will be kind of is getting smaller, and then I think it's just something like this. Yes, this is my question, my ideas. Yes.
So it's more about if you have the ability to learn from it rather than how good your model is in terms of how much benefit you'll get.
Yes, I think so. I think so. I mean, we cannot change the more,
Yeah.
the financial year. I mean, we cannot change it. So we cannot just stay there and say that, then we have to have a solution. So my approach is more about solution. How can we do it? So I think, yeah.
That's very interesting. I guess the next question I wanted to ask. So I guess in the past, most
Yeah.
of the students and probably all of us in our education, we pretty much did it without generative AI. We wrote our papers ourselves. We did our math questions ourselves. Maybe we Googled it or we watched YouTube videos.
Yeah.
But it was a bit of a different process, maybe.
Yeah.
And so, one of the biggest concerns that a lot of people bring up, and I don't know if this is necessarily validated by the findings or anything like that, but they think that it's going to diminish people's critical thinking, that students will get worse at learning because generative AI is solving the problems for them. And so I wanted to know maybe what's your take on someone who says this, and is it backed up in the literature? Is it kind of a 50-50 thing? Like what are your findings and your thoughts?
I think what we talk about is that people prediction, is a hypothesis. Because again, generative AI or generative AI just have been in the market for how long? Like 2 to 3 years?
Yeah.
And then I think if your question about critical thinking, I think we did a study, longitudinal study, to prove that personally, because I'm more evidence based. So of course, this prediction is I think it's normal. This prediction hypothesis is well supported. I would say that. Again, so that's why we need education. So in school, we learn. You have to understand when you are more mature, well developed, it's difficult to change. If you are, so that's why it's very important that we start AI competency. This kind of idea that in school, that's why you have to build up. Understand that you have to let them understand that generative AI is going to give you. Just why I say that I don't see generative AI as I see it as alternative intelligence. So if they have this mindset, they won't just use it. Again, generative AI is not going to go away. They will be with us. So that's why that we have to educate our students. If you ask me, of course, we don't do anything. The answer is that I will support this kind of perspective. So actually, our students, become lazy. They don't do anything. They just ask ChatGPT to do anything or generative AI to do anything. But again, it's very dangerous in that cases. I do support that if we don't do anything. So that's why I think that we have to do something. That, for example, I think this morning I was reading some news that now OpenAI is going to let ChatGPT to people can use ChatGPT to buy some stuff online. It just happened this morning. I said, is it ethical? So for me, because I have the mindset says that it's ethical because when you come, unlike the traditional one, Amazon, you go there and buy something. But now when you're using some kind of LLM, you talk to them, then there's someone you need, and then they just encourage you to buy something. So for me, it's a different thing. So you can see that for me, because have this kind of idea. You have to understand that it's all about learning. Generative AI is everywhere. Why do we have to talk about AI literacy, AI competency? Because AI will be around our kid, around everyone. So not just about learning and teaching. Critical thinking affect everything. How they live. Are they in danger? And I think this is very important. So again, if we don't do anything, the answer is yes. I mean, so that's why what next? So I think that we have to focus on more in the AI curriculum that in school. Yes.
Got it. So if left unchecked, you think it would definitely diminish.
Definitely.
We can stop if we have the right steps.
I think so. It's a research, it's development. How I cannot say that we can stop it. Still, some people maybe they still want to rely on it.
Yeah.
I think we try to minimize the effect of this kind of generative on critical thinking development. Try to minimize it. Let me put it this way. Yeah.
Okay, I see. Now, one thing is a lot of schools, kind of what they're doing to maybe minimize this in relation to what you just said, to try to minimize this effect of diminishing critical thinking, they're turning to different forms of assessment. They're doing in-class essays, they're doing everything handwritten, and they're trying to limit, I guess, the potential for students to use AI, so they actually have to think on their own. So I guess what I wanted to ask is maybe pose a hypothetical scenario. So if you have a school that's doing all of these things, they've completely banned AI, they're doing everything, in-person assessments and in class, do you think that there are some skills these students will have that students with an AI integrated education could never have? And do you think that there are some skills that these students would miss out on that like the AI integrated students would have?
So first, I think in the world, in Hong Kong, even in Canada, we have different schools. Some schools are more conservative; they just ban everything. Some schools are more aggressive; they will just just put it there. So it's like first, if you ask me, the question is again, if the student don't use this in school, in the classroom, but they still use it after school. They still use it, I think in other environments. So no matter what we did, they are everywhere. For example, I always say that one thing. When you use Google to search something, now they are generative AI already in the top. They give you the summarize for you already. So they are there. So first, we cannot escape from this generative AI output. They are there. So if schools banning it, I think it's not for me, because I see first I will see that AI competency is a life learning skill. So everyone should have it because they are around us. So you cannot say that. So that's why I think it's our responsibility to develop this. So let's say that now there are some job advertisement that talk about your employees should be able to work with generative AI. So it's a future skill. And then what we talk about future of work. There are some work you have to collaborate with AI already, and then there's some job that you have to, like for example, some accountant they will use AI apps, to do their tasks, their job. So it is a skill. It's a life learning skill. So again, they ban it the school because they I would say that they don't want to manage it. They don't want to manage it. So I think for me, it's necessary to let our kid to use AI in teaching and learning, in schools. But the question is, it's not just using, how we use it. As I said before, I was sharing with scaffolding is very important because we double critical thinking. For example, that if I learn multiplication, I have to learn addition first. So we call they are like a structure when they talk about learning. So how do you integrate AI, generative AI in teaching is very important. In education, we call scaffolding. So maybe there are a way that you can mean, like for example, I learn about addition, and then I learn multiplication, and I use generative AI to consolidate what the student learn about multiplication. So the role of generative AI in this classroom is consolidating it, help them to practice their questions, because generative AI can guide them to answer the question, rather than help them to finish the homework. So again, I go back to what I suggested before is how. So banning it, I think that they can ban it now, probably in 5 or 6 years. I think it's difficult. And then my answer to this is we should switch it to how, when to do that, instead of like avoiding it. I think because again, what education means, we have to prepare them to work in the future, prepare them to live in the future. Our future is AI based. I would say that. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. And then what about the opposite scenario? So we talked about if they completely ban AI, but do you think that an AI could teach a class all on its own? Or do you think that there would be things that are lost that are inherently valuable in
First,
normal education?
I don't think AI can replace teacher, because in education, it's not only about knowledge, it's only we talk about social skill. Like in AI era, definitely important. I mean, this social skill is very important, become more important. So what do you mean by social skill? We need people. So in school, we need to have a community. They talk about it. I see AI as a teaching assistants. They are there. So I think even though you have to understand that I said that some people are lazy. If they could be over rely on generative AI. So they cannot, if it's over reliance, and actually not a good thing, they cannot learn anything. Again, when about school education, they are young, they are not mature, they are not independent learner. They don't have the capacity to regulate their learning. So in other words, is they cannot really learn by themselves effectively. Even though with generative AI, like I always say that it's a fine line, learning or a copy. So they have a fine line there. So the role of teacher are very important. But again, it's very important. So again, personally, I don't think the AI in my study. Again, we in my study that we try to let the. I have two. I mean, one study talk about one if with teachers, the other no teacher. AI is in the places they are in the classroom. The group that with teachers support are much better. So, I mean, in terms of performance, motivation, attitudes, they are much better because, again, because students mean that they are coming to learn. We need some help, even though you talk about high school, it's the same thing. Even for me, undergraduate, they need help, but they need less help. Let me put it this way: less help from human. Maybe like this. I think and then we bring in another question that how we transform the education, how we transform the teacher education. I think is the way that I think we should look into it. Yes.
So AI could not replace a teacher. It could not teach a class on its own, at least effectively.
Yes.
Gotcha.
I don't think so because education is very complicated. It's very complex. It's not just Q&A. It's not like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. So then I want to ask you, I guess, one last hypothetical question,
Yes.
which is, if you could design any AI tool, you had all the resources in the world, you could do whatever you wanted, what tool would you design, and I guess why?
First, you talk about me, myself.
You yourself.
So of course, I have to use my expertise because I was a mathematics teacher and also STEM educator. I was. So I would do that for mathematics education. So I would say that more likely is the adaptive learning system using LLM for mathematics learning and assessment because who I am. Because we have to do what we good at, we love. So I think this is something that I will do something that make a impact. I want to focus on the learning process, not just the end goal, the outcome. Because a lot of ChatGPT or LLM, generative AI at the moment, I see that they're more focused on end goal, answer, outcome. I'm more focused on the process. So I think this is the app that I want to do. Yes.
So it would be a math app that uses adaptive learning and LLMs and focuses on the process instead of the end goal.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess that's an idea. If anyone who's watching wants to develop something, that's what they could think about. I guess now what I want to ask is maybe a bit more of a fundamental question. So you mentioned earlier that education is really complex and there are a lot of things that we teach beyond just the concepts and the facts. And so I want to ask, like, in your opinion, to you, why do we educate people? What is the purpose of education? What is the meaning of education? And how does generative AI fit into that? Do you think it integrates well with your view on education? Do you think it's harmful to it? And where are you at in that regard?
So we're talking about AI, in education. So there are one thing I want to talk about is we shouldn't let AI dominate the education. Fundamental, what education means. First I talk about it. We call generic skill or 21st century skill, which is problem solving skill, communication skill. That's very important. We've got soft skill. It's a fundamental, and then value education, and also I think that another one that this is what human is, and I'll use one term to talk about. I always say that we should use a human-centric approach to learning. So everything you do should benefit yourself and other and society. So I see AI as just a tool. So don't forget that one. Even though a lot of people that they put a spotlight on AI only. This is the one thing we want to talk about. But if AI doesn't do anything, doesn't harmful our education, we should get rid of it. That's why my philosophy is why I'm talking about AI literacy, AI competency. We have to understand what AI is before we're using it. If you don't understand what it is, you may risk. There are some risk that you may not able to generative become a harmful tool. So I think that what that means, human-centric approach to learning is very important. Everything you do, you do something good to yourself. What is human like? I mean, my question to you, what is human? So I think this is, because education means that you want you to become a better people. This is a question that, I mean, we don't lose our, like maybe, physical education is very important. You cannot just ask them to talk to AI about physical education. And then there are one thing I remember, I reading the report from Canada. They talk about the importances of skill that in the AI era. They talk about social skill. They talk about problem solving. They are all soft skill. So and actually this one become more important rather than, I mean, using technology. I would say that in the future, in 10 years, everyone can use it. I think the big problem is, I mean, the big question is, are they creative? I mean, can they talk to people? Can they make other people comfortable? I mean, this is the big question who's human is. So don't let AI to be the center. We should make human is the center of education. Yeah.
So I guess your philosophy to education is the human-centric approach,
Yeah.
where you just want to become a better human to yourself, to others, to society.
Yeah.
It's like, so I guess, yeah, generative AI could fit into that, but as a tool rather than the central focus.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. I guess the next question that I wanted to get into is the idea of academic misconduct and cheating. Because a lot of people, a lot of teachers that we go to in SAIL, like when we go to their schools, they mention that their students have been cheating with generative AI. They're getting it to do their assignments and they're just copy pasting whatever it says. And I guess it makes me wonder, like, what is the reason as to why these students are cheating? Because it almost seems as if, because of the way our education system is, they're more concerned with the credential or the outcome than actually with learning anything. They just want to get the grade, get the assignment done with, and then move on. Do you think maybe that's an accurate diagnosis? And do you think there is a broader fix that needs to be done in our education system if the cheating is so widespread?
First, from my perspective, everyone just want to get to, I think in this case, everyone want to get their job done. They just want to finish it. In terms of grade, I don't think so, because a lot of study talk about it. If you submit a assignment that generated by generative AI, they usually get C, or they won't get high grade. There are a study talk about it already, because they are very less originals usually. They are very good in the language, and the language is very good. So I think that, if you talk about it, why they doing it, I think first easy. They just want to get a shortcut. I think it's everyone. It's not just student. I think that if you ask me if any academic using generative AI to write paper, they do. I mean, they some of them they don't just spit it out. They keep it silent. So I think the question is, like, I think most people, I don't think all, they just want to get the job done easily. This is a shortcut. But the thing is, I would say that this issue brought another issue we call about assessment. I'll give you one example of myself. Before generative AI or ChatGPT, I rely on essay, like maybe 50%, 40%, even 60%, the assignment that are essay based. And then another one is group assignment presentation. Now, this year, I make it 5% the essay. So I change the way how I assess, because I want my students to actually learn. So, I mean, my essay base is 5 to 10%, and even though that they cannot really just generate essay, press a button and do it, because I want them to collect evidence. So they have the data, they show me the data, and then to build up to become the essay. And then I change the way how I assess students. For example, I use video-based learning. I use presentation, in class, all the activities there. So at first, I would say that I'm not, because of this issue, cheating, I'm the one that I don't want to manage students. I rather, because we have a learning outcome we have to achieve, we have many different ways of doing it. So why don't we just do something different? And then rather than say that you are cheating, because I think that it's normal to think about, most people, they just get to, I mean, we want to have quick meal sometimes. So I think, yeah, something like this. Yeah.
So it's a normal thing, I guess. People
Yeah.
always want to get things done as fast as possible. And so instead of maybe calling it cheating, educators should adapt their assessments to things like
Yes.
presentations and videos. Okay, that makes sense. So I guess just adapt to the format rather than focus on the misconduct. Um, okay. The next thing I wanted to ask is, I guess I'm interested as well in how maybe technology is shaping students' motivation and their sense of agency. Because with generative AI being something that a lot of students use, like when you normally complete an assignment on your own, you might feel in a sense of accomplishment. You might feel that you learned something, that you got something out of it. And I'm wondering, maybe in your experience, in your research, have you noticed that students are still feeling competent and capable of doing things after using generative AI to complete their assignments? Or do you think they have maybe a diminished sense of competence if they rely on it a lot?
So actually, I have one study. I mean, but the research say that motivation is fun. They will use it. I think a lot of survey talk about 90% were using it. But actually, many of them say that they don't learn anything. They do know that. They do know that. So diminish the capacity or not. I don't know. I think it's also depend on the assignment. Depend on the assignment. Of course, if they press a button, the 5 minutes done and then send it. I mean, they don't do. They may learn something, but this is what we talk about outcome. I think when you see a course, you don't only focus on the assignment, because for the learning process, it's very important how they learn it. But what you talk about is the assignment. Does the assignment reflect what they have learned? This is another issue that what you talk about. They may learn something, the whole term, but they just don't want to do the assignment. So I think we have to see that it's not a one point. But we want to focus. If you want to focus on assignment, so that's why I go back to the idea I share. If you really want to assess what they have learned, then we may have to change it differently. Maybe we have to in-class assignment, what you said before, and then, but have they learned anything, diminish any capacity? We don't know that, because that one is the whole terms. No, I don't think that you only have one lesson. You have you might have 13 lessons. What happened to the last 11? I mean, the first 11 lessons or 12 lessons, we cannot ignore them. They may learn something there. So again, what you talk about learning and also summative assessment or final assessment, which is two different things. So I don't think that one can reflect what they have learned. I would say that they may learn to understand, they will learn very hard, but they just don't want to do the last thing, last task maybe. So again, it depends on how they learn, and also I think we should, as a instructor or teachers, educator, we may have to change the way how we assess our student learn in the lesson. Yes.
Got it. Okay. I guess what I was wondering though is, do they feel like they've learned as much as someone who didn't use generative AI if they did use it?
No, again,
The feeling of learning.
I said no, generative AI is there.
Yeah.
So if you ask me, some in some university they have a policy like ban it. Some are using it. In my university, very simple, depend on the teacher. I never ban it. I let them do that. Because my belief that they are there. Even though, okay, you have a lesson, you keep them in the lesson, ban them. After school, after the lecture or lesson, will they use it? They will use it. So no matter what you say, you cannot assess it. You cannot say I ban it. They learn better, but they will use it outside the classroom. They will use it in the house. You have the joint device everywhere. Again, I'm not talking about the traditional concept of generative AI, which is ChatGPT. Google, they have it already.
Yeah.
So if you say that, you should say that not using technology and using technology, because most of the technology are generative AI now. They are there, they embed in there. So again, it's interesting that, I mean, this question, it's not like using it or not. They're everywhere. They're using it. So yes, I think it's interesting that for me, again, is go back to the main idea. If they are accepting it, they don't learn anything. But my approach is I make sure that they have to do presentation, share what they have learned, even though they get idea from generative AI. So really, I'm fun because I always told my students that the output from a generative AI is an alternative intelligence. When you come out to present your work, you understand it, you take it already. You have learned already. But of course, it depends on how you encourage your student to take the idea from generative AI, become their own. I think it's the key like this. So again, generative AI, my idea is they are everywhere. So unless you don't have to use any technology. So yes, something like this. So I think it's difficult to say that they're using it or not using it. Now I think yes, I think that is just everywhere personally.
So
Yes.
it's almost as if the question is irrelevant because it's so widespread. Everyone is using it. It's more about how we go forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I also wanted to ask, do you think, because there are, for example, some AI models that will provide their reasoning, you have O4, O3, or DeepSeek R1, for example. Do you think that there is something that humans can learn from that chain of thought? If you give the AI a problem, it shows this chain of thought. Do you think there's something valuable in there that humans can learn from to adapt their problem-solving approaches? Or do you think it's not very helpful?
I think for me, I only can speak from my personal experience because I don't have any study on this one.
Yeah.
When I use DeepSeek, of course, they tell you what to solve, how they think about it,
Yeah.
and they give you an answer. For me, in the very beginning, very interesting how you talk about it. But then at the end, I don't know how you feel that. I feel that I don't need it. I don't need this process because I believe that at the end, I will make my own decision. So you give me something, I will make my decision. So now I don't find that very inspiring because I get used to it. Again, when you talk about technology, there's another thing, we have different phases. In the very beginning, I find it very interesting. Now, I don't want it. I just want to use it. So I think for some people, they may need it. If they want, I think that is some more extra information that we have some LLM that don't do anything like this. We have some LLM do something like this. I think it depends on the user. So I think that you have different mobile phone is how you select them. So myself, I would say there are we have different border. How you pick them. Like for example, I will share that why I picked this one. The reason is that we have many different LLM. So I think I would say that I make it this way. This kind of feature may benefit some people, but for me, it's not. I'm not a big fan. So that's why I don't want them because I believe I will make a decision myself. Yes.
So for some people, it can be a valuable learning tool and they might value it, but for other people like yourself, you just prefer the regular LLM rather than the reasoning.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I would say that is pretty much all of the questions I had for you today. And the last thing I wanted to ask is just, what do you think the future looks like for yourself? And what do you think the future looks like for this field of AI and education? What are your next steps and what are the field's next steps?
For me, I mean, for myself, one of the questions you ask is what kind of application that I want to develop. I think that one is something that I want to see in the future because for me, if I want to a future mathematics classroom, what will happen is, most of the kids, they learn with generative AI, but we have some teacher there to support them, endorse their work, guide them to what the next step to do is, but that application will become, I think that a real, effective AI, I would say that teaching assistant. So it is what I want to see that a AI in the future AI-based mathematics classroom. Because I don't believe that ChatGPT can do that. They just giving them an answer, right? Which don't benefit learning. How you have to stimulate them, encourage them to do more, do more problem, solve the problem creatively. I think, talk about the future talk about the future education that in this AI era. I think it's very complicated. In education, we have four aspects. One we call teaching, learning, and also assessment and administration. So I would say that we have these four categories. I would say that at the moment we're more focused, everything, very superficial. But how can we talk about this one? I think it's the future to go to. We should focus on all four of them. So I think yes, I think this is what I see. Yeah.
Got it. So focus on the four areas for the field, and for you, you'll be focusing on your mathematical tool.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. And then I'll ask one additional question. This is just a short one, which you can turn into a clip. But the question is, what are your most used AI tools, and how do you use them? What do you think they're best for?
I use Copilot. One of the reasons is I find it's more ethical. Because I think they make sure that they don't use your data. I mean, from what I know that. So I think this is a tools that I use often. I don't really use other. Now I try most of my LLM, most of the text to images, text to video apps. At the end, I think Copilot is my main one, because I find that even though it's not the most powerful one, I feel safe. I feel more comfortable. Let me put it this way. Yes, I think these are the tools that I use. Yeah.
Awesome. We actually interviewed recently a Microsoft person who was working on Copilot. So that was pretty cool. It's very nice to see that you use it as well, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah. Do we have any more short questions? I think that was the main one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to tell people about different tools. And
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
no, thank you very much.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.